All right. Hello, everyone. Salam, namaste, adab, and welcome to today's event. Today, we have a title which is very close to our heart: Reimagining Aligarh Movement in 21st Century, Challenges Before Aligs. And there are three very senior Aligs who are going to talk, but the main speaker is Dr. Abdullah, who is a very well-known senior Alig here in Washington, D.C. area. He is a literary activist, a founder of Aligarh Alumni Association here in Washington, D.C. area, and himself a very accomplished poet. He will be formally introduced by another senior Alig, Mr. Tariq Farooqi, who is presently the chairman of the Aligarh Alumni Association, Washington, D.C. area. He has been associated with Voice of America, State Department, and now a retiree in the local area. And concluding remarks will be given by a very senior Alig who was a former ambassador to UAE, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and Tunisia, Mr. Ishrat Aziz Saab. Welcome you all. And now I invite Tariq Farooqi Saab for formal introductory remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Raziuddin. Ladies and gentlemen, salam, namaste, adab, as Razia said. Thanks for tuning in today. Welcome to this esteemed forum. The Indian Diaspora Forum has flourished into a prominent platform that showcases a diverse array of topics and speakers. I extend my sincere congratulations to the dedicated team consisting of Dr. Raziuddin, Dr. Rafat Hussain, and Faisal Beg, responsible for its remarkable success. Thank you. With immense pleasure, I present a dear friend and distinguished speaker, the distinguished speaker for today's program. Dr. Abdullah is a luminary whose contributions have left an indelible mark on both local and global communities. Dr. Abdullah's academic journey commenced at Aligarh Muslim University, where he earned his BS and MS degrees and served as a lecturer in the Department of Mathematics. His pursuit of higher learning led him to the State University of New York in Buffalo, where he obtained his MS in statistics. Subsequently, he completed his doctorate at George Washington University. During his professional career, Dr. Abdullah served at NASA and GE before establishing his own company. Despite his professional achievements, however, his true calling lay in serving the community. As a founder member of the Aligarh Alumni Association of Washington, D.C., Dr. Abdullah played a pivotal role in establishing an organization that is now celebrating its 50th anniversary and has served as an incubator for many similar associations across North America. Congratulations. Now some personal anecdotes. Although I never met Dr. Abdullah at Aligarh, as I joined much later, I'd heard stories about him. I knew him by name. As a handsome young lecturer, he was assigned to take math classes at the Abdullah Girls College. For some reason, that assignment was made for him. While he was taking his classes, girl students at that college targeted his poor bike, and release the air from its tires. Such was the state of innocent flirtations 60 years ago. Gossips would have a field day if Abdullah was ever spotted in the university canteen with a member of the opposite sex, as that too was a rare event. When I finally met him in Washington, D.C., we noted a sincere and passionate person who was eager to preserve and guard the Aligarh persona in the diaspora. Abdullah was a consummate perfectionist, and this habit became an irritant to us at times. Sorry to say that, Dr. Abdullah. A few of us foolish souls, and he'll relate to this, volunteered to sing the Aligarh Tarana after the first annual Musharah in 1975. We were obviously not very vocally gifted, and Abdullah panicked just before the event. We had to mollify him and get back on stage. Somehow we made the presentation before a very forgiving audience. Fortunately, the aura of the Tarana and the excitement it generated hid the many flaws in its recitation. Abdullah's penchant for organizing the program stage and the hall to his own satisfaction was very well known to us. On many occasions, we had to redo the entire setup he was not satisfied with whatever anybody else had done. I remember that some of us staffed the desk at the auditorium entrance to sell tickets and occasional books of the attending poets. Abdullah, when he had more energy than he has now, would walk by and rearrange the items to his liking. Of course, we would revert to our previous arrangements once he left. Only Abdullah could get away with this quirk, as we appreciated his intense passion and sincerity. Now back to more serious stuff. His dedication to preserving and promoting the Urdu language is evident through his publications and community initiatives, such as organizing annual musharas, which have become an event to look forward to. These literary gatherings have celebrated the richness of Urdu poetry and strengthened the cultural ties of the South Asian diaspora. Dr. Abdullah's collection of Urdu poems titled Reet Ki Lehre and the numerous accolades he has received from literary organizations further underscore his unwavering commitment to the Urdu language. Through his tireless efforts, Dr. Abdullah established a benchmark for cultural preservation and engagement, serving as a beacon of inspiration for future generations. His contributions continue to foster a deeper appreciation of a shared Ganga Jamuni heritage and cultural dialogue in an increasingly interconnected world. His unwavering commitment to community welfare, coupled with his ability to inspire collective action, has solidified his reputation within the community. Now we turn to the topic of the address of the day, the Aligarh movement initiated by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in the late 19th century. This movement sought to modernize the community by promoting education, scientific knowledge, and social reforms. The establishment of the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College at Aligarh, which later became Aligarh Muslim University, was a cornerstone of this undertaking. Sir Syed emphasized the significance of learning English and Western sciences to empower Muslims to integrate them into mainstream society. That this drive not only fostered educational advancements but also encouraged a progressive outlook, bridging the gap between traditional values and modernity. The Aligarh movement played a pivotal role in shaping the intellectual and cultural landscape of Muslims, paving the way for the socio-economic development and political awakening. We eagerly anticipate Dr. Abdullah's upcoming address on the Aligarh movement and the challenges it currently faces. We must reflect on whether we have lived up to Sir Syed's message of free inquiry, of large-hearted tolerance, and of pure morality. The speaker's perspective on this historical movement and its contemporary relevance will provide invaluable insights for the community today. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Abdullah.
Thank you, Tariq, for what do you say, more flattering introduction no one gave me, and only you could do that, who knows the inside and out of me. And thanks a lot. And I'd also like to thank the organizers of Indian Diaspora, Dr. Raziuddin, Dr. Rafat Hussain, and Faisal Beg for making part of it. And the topic, as Tariq says, Reimagining Aligarh Movement in 21st Century, Challenges before Aligs. These days, Aligarh is very much in talk in this town and around the globe. In this town, we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of Aligarh Alumni Association, which was established about 50 years ago, 24th of May, 1975. And around the globe, it is also the foundation day of Madrasatul Uloom, which was founded on the same date, 24th of May, 150 years ago, and which later became the Aligarh Muslim University. So no wonder that this topic is on the Indian Diaspora Forum, because all the three organizers, they are Aligs, and they picked up three Aligs to discuss about it. Tariq, as has been said, is the chairman of Board of Trustees of Aligarh Alumni Association this year. And Ambassador Ishrat Aziz, my Ishrat Bhai, he was not only a student there, he was a lecturer before he joined the foreign service, so we are going to benefit from his experience and knowledge about the subject. Now, I'm going to segment it. My presentation is like a nature of any social upliftment movement, background of the Aligarh movement, and the Aligarh movement itself, and the tools Sir Syed used, and the result and the impact of that movement, and the politics of 20s, 30s, and 40s, the past partition Aligarh, and Aligarh, then I will come to the Aligarh in 21st century and the role of alumni. So please bear with me, and I promise that I always like to speak less so that we have more time in interacting, question and answer. Javed Akhtar, लाइंस आर जो भी कहना है बस 4 लफ्जों में कहो, उसको कब फुर्सत सुने फरियाद सब. So starting with that, let's go. I would say that the nature of any social reform movement is that it inspires people to pool their resources and organize themselves to meet the challenges they are facing. And these challenges, they differ in time and the place. So keep that in mind, the basic nature of that. And let's go back to Aligarh movement and its background. 1857, Indians had lost their war of independence. Mughal Empire was vanquished. British had taken over. And they were suppressing the Indian masses. And their special attention was on Indian Muslims because they believed they were the culprits of instigating the uprising. So under these circumstances, a man, Sayyid Ahmad Khan, who belonged to the elite class of the that society of that time, and his education was the madrasa education of that time, but he was a visionary and who could look into the future of India, and he realized that in future, the minorities of India can retain their identity and their integrity only if they walk side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the majority community in building the nation, and then they can reap the benefit. And it was, so he started a movement called Aligarh Movement, and it was really to uplift the Muslim society, to make it at par with the majority community. And the tool or the vehicle behind this was modern education. We can say that although it was focused on the need of the Muslims, but it was not communal at all. And why I'm saying is that, the need was this, that, Muslims were lagging behind at least about 5 decades. Raja Ram Mohan Rai's Brahmo Samaj movement had already made some dent on the reform of the Hindu society. Madan Mohan Malviya's campaign for starting a Hindu university was already in progress. But so that's why Sir Syed was focusing on this, and he was emphasizing over and over again that, it is, and one can see from his actions that, after 2 years of starting Madrasatul Uloom, when he established the college and hired about 8 professors in Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, 2 of them were Hindus and 2 Christians. When he introduced Arabic, he also introduced Sanskrit in the curriculum. Cow meat was banned on the campus, and lots of his, people on the staff, including his accountant, they were Hindus. And that's the reason that, a lot of Rajas and of that time and people of who had the resources, they gave him money. They were Hindus, but they contributed for the making the college. So I mean, I'm emphasizing over and over again, and I will just give a quotation from him about his outlook. And this is a तकरीर लाहौर 3 फरवरी 1984. He says that मुझको अफसोस होगा अगर कोई शख्स ये ख्याल करे कि यह कॉलेज हिंदुओं और मुसलमानों के दरमियान इम्तियाज करने की गर्ज से कायम किया गया है। खास सबब जो इस कॉलेज को कायम करने का हुआ ये था, जैसा कि मैं यकीन करता हूं कि आप भी वाकिफ हैं कि मुसलमान रोज बरोज ज्यादा से ज्यादा जलील और मोहताज होते जा रहे हैं। उनके मजहबी तअस्सुबात ने उनको तालीम से फायदा उठाने से बाज रखा था, जो सरकारी कॉलेजों और मदरसों में मुहैया की गई थी, और इसी वजह से ये अमर जरूरी ख्याल किया गया कि इसके वास्ते कोई खास इंतजाम किया जावे। इसकी मिसाल इस तरह से दी जा सकती है कि फर्ज करो कि 2 भाई ऐसे हैं जिनमें से एक बिल्कुल ताकतवर और तंदुरुस्त है और दूसरा बीमार है। अगर उसकी तंदुरुस्ती जवाल पर है तो बस उसके तमाम भाइयों का यह फर्ज होगा कि इस बीमार भाई की सेहत की तदबीर करें और उसको मदद दें। यही ख्याल था जिसने मुझको मोहम्मडन एंग्लो ओरिएंटल कॉलेज के कायम करने पर आमादा किया। मगर मैं इस बात को बयान करने से खुश हूं कि इस कॉलेज में दोनों भाई एक ही तालीम पाते हैं। कॉलेज के तमाम हुकूक जो उस शख्स से मुतल्लिक हैं जो अपने तई मुसलमान कहता है, बिला किसी कैद के उस शख्स से मुतल्लिक हैं जो अपने तई हिंदू बयान करता है। हिंदुओं और मुसलमानों के दरमियान जरा भी इम्तियाज नहीं है। सिर्फ वही शख्स इनाम का दावा कर सकता है जो अपनी सही और कोशिश से उसको हासिल करे। इस कॉलेज में हिंदू और मुसलमान दोनों बराबर वजीफों के मुस्तहक हैं और दोनों की निस्बत बतौर बॉर्डर के एकसा तौर पर सलूक किया जाता है। मैं हिंदुओं और मुसलमानों को मिसल अपनी 2 आंखें समझता हूँ। तो ये तो Sir Sayyid mission and all that, and what he did to propagate that movement, there are a lot of things. I mean, besides the curriculum and all that, he started a magazine. You all know Tehzeebul Akhlaq, which was dealing all the essays were written on the social topics, basically to educate people and bring them, get out them for the old dogmatic, beliefs they had. And same way he established scientific society to bring more rational approach towards thinking. He had University Gazette to keep people informed. And besides, I mean, all those things were being done to bring people more informed with the modern education and all that. Because as Sardar Jafri has once said that it was the influence of Ghalib. Basically, Ghalib brought him in this direction when, that's a long story, but Ghalib's share is perhaps influence him that ईमा मुझे रोके है तो खींचे है मुझे कुफ्र, काबा मेरे पीछे है कलीसा मेरे आगे. So the time is changing, and with the time we should change. That was the whole thing. And all these efforts we was making, and there was one big change. I mean, effect of Aligarh movement was on Urdu literature. To me, I have said it before that, Aligarh Tehreek actually could be considered as the first Tehreek of Urdu adab also, because Urdu prose was developed under the influence of Sir Sayyid. Tanqeed, I mean, criticism in Urdu started. Autobiographies started. Lot of things, I mean, and Nazm Nigari started. Before that, Ghazal was more prominent, only long poems were written. The subject, the content of poetry changed. So all those things happened, and Aligarh slowly, with all these things, that became an epicenter, intellectual epicenter of the Muslims of India, and it influenced all over. And Sir Sayyid, one thing also in his policy was that don't get involved into politics. As a strategy, that's why when Muslim Educational Society was formed in 1885, I guess, that he asked people to not involve the Aligarh people. And the reason was that he was very careful not to antagonize British, uh, because he thought that this is a time to learn from them, their art and their science, rather than antagonize them. उनके गुर सीखने के टाइम, उनसे पंगा लेने का टाइम नहीं. So that thing, I mean, Aligarh people practiced even in 1920s when Khilafat movement led by Maulana Muhammad Ali, Shaukat Ali, Gandhi ji, these people, they came to Aligarh. Aligarh people did not participate enthusiastically in that, and that created Jamia Millia Islamia. A faction, splitted from Aligarh policy. But later on, late 30s, Aligarh got swayed by Muslim League politics, and they got involved in politics. And therefore, the result was that after partition, Aligarh got into trouble, and it was and it was because of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Azad, and Sarojini Naidu, who was the governor that time of UP, that Aligarh remained open. And then later on, people like Dr. Zakir Hussain, Badruddin Tayyib ji, or Colonel Bashir Hussain Zaidi, they became very prominent people, vice chancellors of Aligarh, and they brought back the activities in Aligarh, and Aligarh really again stood up. And but again, with time, the things change in India. Now we come to 21st century. So the Aligarh talk got a shock after partition. It revived, but in 21st century, slowly, Indian society is becoming polarized for political reason, and that polarization or communalization, I would say that, like that hurts if there is a issue, community-based organization like Aligarh is perceived that way. So Aligarh is in a lot of stress at the present time, and that stress is some political and some internal also, because we are not doing as a good job internally that we should. So that is where the current situation stays. But what we should think about the Aligarh movement in 21st century. So this is the background where the Aligarh stands now. Now, as regards the objective of Aligarh movement, that will not change. The objective was to bring the minority community at par with the majority community. So that remains still the objective of the Aligarh movement. Now the Aligarh movement in 21st century, the objective remains same. Only thing is that, how to cope with the new situation. That has changed, and that is where our major goal would be that, what way the alumni can do, and what the associations can do, and what the Aligarh itself can do. So my thinking is that, first of all, that brings the role of alumni now. Earlier, Aligarh has a long tradition that from the college days, Aligarh alumni, they were involved. Like in most of the Western universities, that, there was Old Boys Association, there was a duty society and all that, and they went around and raised money for the universities, building construction and or helping the students and propagating the education all over. So that job they did, but that situation was different. Today's in India, now Aligarh is not the only epicenter of the Muslim intellect and all that. So we have to think in a larger term, and that is where we all can discuss. But terms like the initiative Aligharians can take is to, first of all, make a communication vehicle that like organize a organization, make it where we can connect from village level to mega cities, and that will not require only a league. That I think for Jamia student, for Jamia Hamdard student, or anywhere Muslim student, you can have a network or like-minded people who believe in that it is for the progress of the nation, it's important that all the people they progress. So that networking is very important to make, because only then we can reach out and disseminate the information. That is one thing. Then there is a political weakness where the Aligs and other can take part, and because the Muslim society generally has become very introvert, and they suffer because of that. Example is Shabano, or triple talaq thing, or now the awqaf. So I think it is the alumni should create an environment where the people feel that a uniform civil code is in the better interest of the Muslim community than having a little bit peace here and there. Uh, that is not working. So political, then there is social challenges there. Social challenge is about the inter-community relationship has become really, I mean, in my lifetime, I have not seen that bad. So it needs something, and for that, the people who are underdog, they have to take the initiative. No one will come to you, you got to go. And therefore, we have to have, say, interfaith relationship has to be increased, and for that we can organize seminars and all that. When people will come to your platform, a scholar, they're not going to, say all bad things. There will be some positive thing will come out of it. Then there are economic challenges where the alumni can do, whether it is, like for job or competitive exams and things like that. That is where another effort is needed. So all those things are, I'm just touching the basis. I'm not going into details that how to do it, because I don't know myself. And then lastly, that there is a, like as regards the association in Washington, as Tariq Farooqi was alluding, that we ourselves had a very small base, and the idea was from the very beginning that we will have a international link of all the alumni, so that together with our collective effort we can do some good for our alma mater. That was 50 years ago. Now some modification is needed, that who else we can involve. But we consistently made some progress. That was a cell in Washington. Then we slowly went up and got a national organization. It is not functioning that well, but there is an organization. Then we went to Aligarh and got a alumni affairs to make international connections. So some tools are there. We have to make it better and working, and that is what we can discuss, that how we can make it more workable. And so that is where I think I don't it is better to discuss things and and learn from each other rather than one person talking about it. So I will stop with one share from a from my teacher in Shibli College, Malikzada Manzoor Ahmad, कि दरिया के तलातुम से तो बच सकती है किश्ती, और किश्ती में तलातुम हो तो साहिल न मिलेगा. So we got to organize ourselves and make an effort to mobilize the community and mobilize the Indian community overall, really to do a better work for the nation. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdullah bhai. It was a wonderful talk. Though you could have taken much more time, we have plenty of time. Now I invite Ishrat bhai, Ishrat Aziz Saab, Ambassador Ishrat Aziz Saab, for the concluding remarks.
That's why I did not take time, Raji.
कोई बात नहीं, कोई बात नहीं.
Word of wisdom सुनना है ना.
जी जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Thank you, Abdullah. Salam and namaste to all the viewers. What I am going to say will take much less than 15 minutes that has been allotted to me. Congratulations to Razi and his colleagues for organizing this discussion. Abdullah has very ably summed up the vision with which Sir Syed established the Aligarh movement and the goals before us today. So I will not repeat what he has already said. What I'm going to say will supplement what Abdullah has said. Challenges depend on circumstances. We must understand the thought of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in the context of the circumstances that he faced, and we must have a vision for AMU movement in the circumstances that now prevail. Born in 1817, Sir Syed was 40 years old when the Mughal dynasty ended in a welter of violence and bloodshed. More important than the end of the Mughal dynasty was the destruction of the Muslim gentry and loss of land, their main means of livelihood. Without business and finance, always a weak point with Muslims, their economic condition became precarious. Nobility was reduced to poverty. Muslims were angry with the British because the latter had ended their rule and their privileges. Consequently, they resisted learning English and adopting their educational system. The British, on their part, were suspicious of the Muslims. They understood the feelings of resentment of the Muslims whom they had defeated. There was mutual distrust. Sir Syed's first priority was to stabilize the economic condition of the Muslims. For that, it was essential to assure the British that they could trust the Muslims as loyal British subjects. For this, he was willing to swallow his pride and cooperate with them. His second task was to convince the Muslims that their future lay in education, especially disciplines of science and engineering. Overall, he believed that reason-based thinking is the key to community's progress and its strength. Belief in reason is the most important legacy of Sir Syed, as valid today as it was then. The circumstances that Muslims face today are different in many ways. The British are gone and India is a sovereign democratic republic. The diverse implications of this reality must be kept in mind. When reimagining Aligarh movement in 21st century, we must constantly keep in mind, and this is important, that the total Muslim population in India, numbering more than 200 million, is more than the population of Brazil, the fifth largest country in the world. Russia, Japan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Mexico are all far behind in this respect. Such a large population of people is capable not only of looking after itself, but also helping others once they have a clear vision and motivation. Vision and motivation is everything for a people's destiny. One fundamental point. There is an important difference between the circumstances that Sir Syed faced and the circumstances that Muslims face today. In his time, the British ruled India, and they could easily be persuaded to accord special benefits to Muslims. For example, 25% reservation in all vacancies to be filled by direct recruitment. This is not possible today. Reservation in jobs is not an option. Strict adherence to the Constitution, all demands and activities must be strictly in conformity with the articles of the Constitution, and insistence that others do the same. Muslims should only ask for constitutional guarantees of security of life, property, and rule of law, and a level playing field. The rest should be achieved by them by their own efforts. The watchword should be hard work. Muslims face headwind. This can only be overcome by increased effort. Hard work does not need opportunity. It creates opportunity. It does not need affirmative action or reservation. Hard work achieves far more than what affirmative action can ever bestow. The basic problem is that reservation for one group is always at some other group's expense and creates resentment amongst those adversely affected. Reservation is therefore divisive. Hard work is admired and appreciated by everyone. Its success is envied, but not resented. It benefits everyone, most of all the nation. And you will get everyone's support in such an endeavor. Wherever reservations exist, Muslims should offer to phase them out gradually. Though Muslims are only 13% of the population, their goal should be to contribute 20% to India's progress and prosperity by their hard work. In academics and learning, especially science and technology, they should aim to plant India's flag internationally. Their goal should be Nobel Prize. Nobel laureates are not born to wealth. Just study the lives of Nobel laureates. Nobel Prize is achieved by motivated hard work. Research and creative ideas in political science, economics, business administration, jurisprudence, journalism, etc. should be emphasized. These are essential for developing leadership qualities amongst the youth. Muslims must adopt democratic outlook as their way of life. The decision-making process should be consultative. That alone will ensure that their leadership is elected, not appointed. Elected leadership alone has credibility. There should be a course on how to think so that people develop the attitude of forming opinions and conclusions based on reason, evidence, and facts. Equally, there should be no attempt to tell young minds what to think, only how to think. Muslims should make it their goal to win medals, gold, silver, bronze, for India in sporting events like Olympics, Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, etc. It is high time that Muslims undertake self-reformation aimed at equality for women, equal rights for everyone irrespective of religion or creed, and freedom of thought and conscience. Out-of-the-box thinking is required to create economic models that work for modern industrial economy, including banking, finance, and interest for prosperity. All matters except those relating to devotional religion, namely belief in God, the hereafter, prayer, fasting, Hajj, and charity, must be decided by application of mind, investigation, and facts. Laws must be made compatible with the welfare of the people as their purpose. Constitution and governance must be based on democracy, freedom, and human rights. Without these, there is no progress. Muslims must strengthen secularism in their thinking, outlook, and action. Secularism is not anti-religious, but pro all religions. People of all faiths have equal rights in a secular society. Secularism is a unifying approach. Aligarh Muslim University should work for unity and social harmony throughout the country. For this purpose, it should have a department for conflict resolution studies. It must do research to establish the causes of conflict in South Asia and how to deal with them, and benefits of South Asian cooperation. Some people will say that this vision for Aligarh Muslim University is overambitious, but great achievements require great ambitions. They are fully achievable by hard work. There is no alternative to hard work in today's highly competitive world. You have to be competitive not only nationally, but also internationally. To those who think that I have laid very ambitious goals, I would like to recite a few couplets from Allama Iqbal and then Jigar Muradabadi. क़नाअत न कर आलमे रंगो बू पर चमन और भी आशियां और भी हैं तो चाही है परवाज है काम तेरा तेरे सामने आशियां और भी हैं. And now जिगर मुरादाबादी, पहले तू हुस्न अमल हुस्न यकीन पैदा कर, फिर इसी खाक से फिरदौस से बरी पैदा कर. इश्क ही जिंदा व पाइंदा हकीकत है जिगर, इश्क को आम बना ज़ौक़े यकीन पैदा कर. And this is my favorite. घटे अगर तो बस एक मुश्त खाक है, वरना बढ़े तो वसत कौनैन में समा न सके. That is, human beings. 200 million people can reach anywhere in the world and universe that human beings can reach. 200 million people, Muslims of India, can reach the farthest corners of this universe if they try. Thank you. Thank you for your patience for listening. Thank you.
Wonderful, Ishrat bhai. Wonderful. Wonderful concluding remarks. And now we will go to question and answer session. But before that, we have an announcement for the upcoming Saturday session. Faisal? Mirza Saab, kahan hai?
Just 1 second.
फैसल ने टाइम अपना सेट कर रखा था 12 बजे के बाद.
That is correct.
तो दोनों जो हैं हमारे मॉडरेटर्स वो जग रहे हैं इस वक्त की भी. वो जी
This session, Razi, is more productive by question answer.
yeah, sure. The upcoming session is a very hot topic with two very distinguished speakers. The Gaza War and After. Ambassador Talmiz Ahmad is going to talk, is the main speaker. He's a former ambassador to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Oman. And the single discussant who is going to do the introductory as well as concluding is Ambassador Navtesh Sarna. You all probably know him very well. He is a former ambassador to USA, Israel, and High Commissioner to UK. Both are very well versed in that topic, and hopefully they will do a wonderful job. So over to Dr. Rafat Hussain for question and answer session.
Thank you, Dr. Raziuddin. Let's begin the question and answer session. And before we begin that, I congratulate all three speakers for giving a wonderful background of Aligarh movement and the great advice by Ambassador Ishrat Aziz for the Aligs to succeed in 21st century. So that's a very good discussion. Let's see what the people ask. So there are two options of asking question. You can raise your digital hand or put a question in the chat box. So I will monitor both of them. The first one is coming from Dr. Fazal Khan. The question is, the stock has created many questions in mind, but in the interest of time, I will ask just one question for now. Have we mastered the art of crying and complaining about everything? What I see is that Muslims are less educated now, and they were less educated before Britishers came in India. Why? Who? Ishrat Bhai or Abdullah Bhai, who will take that?
Question. I mean, part of the reason is that, the progress we made, it was a big setback by partition. I mean, that's one line, and we are again, increasing but education is being, Ishrat Bhai can shed more light, but I think since Middle East and all that, it is affecting the education because people after high school or some education in the villages who do not have enough money, education has become very expensive, so they export people to earn some money in Middle East. So that is one reason that, a lot of Muslim youths are not getting education right now. But Ishrat Bhai, you can add something.
Are we really less educated than the before British or after British?
They are less educated. I don't have the data, but
Yeah, let Ishrat Bhai speak. Okay.
Rafat, can you repeat the question?
Okay, sure. Let me go back. Have we mastered the art of crying and complaining about everything? What I see is that Muslims are less educated now, and they were less educated before Britishers came in India. Why?
Well, very hard to say. I really don't have data, but I think one reason is that Muslims were owners of land and there was less emphasis on education. That has historically been correct. And I mean, I have seen the Muslim history, and I think I said in my own remarks that business and finance, which are professions which do not come from ownership of land, they have always been a weakness with Muslims. And I think we have to overcome it. And I did emphasize that we need to correct this deficiency by education, and education in economics, in finance, and creative thinking there. Our thinking in these respects is very, very dogmatic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's move on. Imtiaz Saab raised a digital hand. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum all. As an old-time Aligarian, I was a student at Aligarh in 1950s, taught for a year from 61 to 62 at the engineering college. I have always been very concerned that the emphasis on quality was lacking, at least during the time I was a student. Now what I've visited Aligarh since then couple of times. I live here in Chicago. I believe, उसको मैं उर्दू में कहना चाहूँगा, जब कोई कौम इल्म, फिक्र, ईमान, अखलाक व किरदार और अमल से गाफिल हो जाए, उसका जवाल लाजिम है, उसका जवाल लाजिम है। ये लोहे अज़ल में लिखा है, ये हुक्म बारी ताला है। आप ये बताइए कि मुस्लिम्स ऑफ इंडिया, आर दे रियली अवेयर ऑफ दिस mandate from Allah Ta'ala, and what are we doing about it?
से पूछ रहे हैं मेरे ख्याल से I mean the doing and all that, the discussion is that what are the things we can do. This is one of the things one can do, educate, and that's one of the suggestion was that how to educate. I mean, these days we can have seminars and reach out to people. Whatever the Aligarh University is, that I don't know right now that whether how much progress they are making and not making, but overall the issue right now is that really that how the alumni or anyone who is concerned mobilize the community. That is where the inertia is. And for that, more interaction we have some way on educating people and all that. You are much more involved with that, so you may have a better feeling, but I don't have that, how much people are really motivated with that or not. But I personally feel that we need to do a grassroots movement to educate people on these issues. And that's what the subject is right now, that what we can do really.
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. So let's move on. Dr. Syed Amir, please. Can you turn on the cameras for other, please, now?
Thank you. I just took a minute to unmute myself.
No problem.
तीन distinguished Aligarhian यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं, जो स्पीकर्स हैं, और जाहिर है कि उनकी मालूमात और उनका एसोसिएशन लीडर जो रही है वो बड़ी हमारे लिए कारामद और मुफीद है। पहली एक सवाल तो एम्बेसडर इशरत अजीज साहब से है मेरा, कि जो बड़ा एम्बिशियस आपने अलीगढ़ के लिए, क्या मुसलमानों के लिए हिंदुस्तानी लाएमल पेश किया है, वो तो बड़ा इम्प्रेसिव है, कानों को दिल दोनों को बड़ा अच्छा लगता है। मुश्किल ये है कि हिंदुस्तान में सर सैयद के बाद गिने चुने चंद लीडर पैदा हुए, चंद ही लीडर पैदा हुए। वो किसी भी प्रोग्राम और लाएमल को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि कोई लीडर हो। और जैसे आपने अल्लामा इकबाल को कोट किया, उनका खुद अपना ये है कि इकबाल बड़ा उपदेशक है, जी बातों में मोह लेता है, गुफ्तार का ये गाजी तो बना, किरदार का गाजी बन न सका। तो वो खुद अपने ही बारे में उन्होंने यही कहा है। तो बहुत से हमारे लीडर जो हैं हिंदुस्तान में इस वक्त बड़ी हद तक कमी उनकी यही है कि कोई आगे बढ़ाने वाला और लीड करने वाला नहीं है। तो एक तो ये है। तो इस सिलसिले में अगर कोई आपका ख्याल हो, अब्दुल्ला साहब से मैं ये अर्ज करूं भाई कि आप तो आइकॉनिक हैं यहाँ पर, मुझसे थोड़े छोटे हैं आप, लेकिन ये कि आपकी जो शोहरत है उसने बड़ा अलीगढ़ एसोसिएशन को फ़ायदा पहुँचाया है। एक मुश्किल ये है कि अलीगढ़ में जो आजकल हालात हैं, ये तो ज़रूरी है कि वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी को बड़ी तरक्की हुई है, तो उसकी शोहरत भी आम है, और यहाँ तक कि उनकी रेपुटेशन है बराबर वो बढ़ रही है आगे। लेकिन एक चीज़ जो मिसिंग है, जिसने अलीगढ़ को मुनफरद बना दिया था, वो मैं नहीं समझता कि वो बाकी है। मेरे ज़माने में और यकीनन आपके ज़माने में भी अलीगढ़ की एक हैसियत थी नुमायाँ, और उससे पहले मेरे आने से पहले मैं तो 50s में वहाँ था, और ज़्यादा रेपुटेशन थी, किताबें लिखी गई हैं अलीगढ़ की, जो अपना कैरेक्टर था उसके बारे में। अब अंदाज़ा मुझे ये होता है, अगरचे मैंने अलीगढ़ 10-12 साल से नहीं गया हूँ, कि वो इंफारियत अलीगढ़ की ख़त्म हो चुकी है। वो तो अलीगढ़ की जो रवायात थी जाकिर हुसैन साहब ने और लोगों ने किताबें लिखी हैं, डॉक्टर जाकिर हुसैन नहीं बल्कि दूसरे अलीगढ़ जो थे मरहूम, उन्होंने जो किताबें लिखी हैं, जो अलीगढ़ की रवायात थी वो बड़ी हद तक ख़त्म हो चुकी हैं। अब ये कि तालीमी इंस्टीट्यूशन तो है एंड इट इज़ ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, इंडिया में है तारीख एंड हैज मेड लॉट ऑफ प्रोग्रेस, but whether it is still retaining or preserving some of its traditions, I am not sure. अब यहाँ से ज़रा मुश्किल है कहना उसको। और अगर ये बात नहीं है कि अलीगढ़ की ट्रेडिशन तो वो मुस्लिम जो कैरेक्टर था इसका और उसके जो हिंदुस्तान में इसकी हैसियत जो होना चाहिए थी कि एक तरह से इट इज सिग्नेचर मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, अगर वो बाकी नहीं रही या नहीं है तो फिर किस हद तक अलीगढ़ की अफादियत है, how much beneficial it is as a Muslim institution today. So this is what I'll appreciate any thoughts, both of you.
महेश्वर भाई थोड़ी सी वो इनिशिएट कर देता हूँ, देन यू कैन टेक ओवर फ्रॉम
Okay, okay.
सबसे पहली बात आमिर भाई, दी कोई भी चीज व्हेन एक खवास से जब अवाम में जाती है तो देर इज ऑलवेज अ डाइल्यूशन, वेदर इट इज आर्ट, इट्स एजुकेशन और एनीथिंग. इंडिया में the education earlier there were very a class of people were getting for which the Aligarh got famous and all that. Now it has gone to the families where the first generation is getting education. So as far as cultural compromise and all that on the campus, you see, that had to happen because of the expansion. And there are a lot of other problems because the infrastructure of the university was made for, say, to accommodate 10 to 15,000 people. Now there are 30,000 people. So these things are there. And in Aligarh, there are some internal changes also. Earlier at my time, Ishrat Bhai was also warden there. So warden तक कोई चीज जो है बहुत बाद में जाती थी. Most of the time, the senior monitor, the senior hall and all that. So there was a structure that has been compromised too. So that discipline in Aligarh has been compromised. It has to be restored. बाकी इफादियत अलीगढ़ की तो अब भी है. आई मीन इट इज ए प्राइम इंस्टीट्यूशन, इट इज देयर, इट इज डूइंग ए जॉब. द थिंग इज नहीं कुछ होने से तो बहुत बेहतर है. इट इज स्टिल ए प्राइम इंस्टीट्यूशन. आप तारीखन ईश्वर भाई क्यों
उठाए हुए हैं आपकी जनरेशन और उसी तरह की, तो वो
जी
अब जो अलीगढ़ का झंडा उठाए हुए हैं जो आगे अलीगढ़ मूवमेंट को, वो वही जनरेशन है जो आपकी जनरेशन है, उससे करीब करीब. लेकिन ये कि नई जनरेशन वो इन्फ्यूजन अगर वो नहीं है तो वो बाहर भी जाते हैं, जो आते हैं आप उन्हें देखें तो फिर वो बात नहीं रह गई है. बाहर ये बात एहसास होता है.
नहीं, आपकी बात सही है कि एहसास सही है आपका, लेकिन सवाल है कि वो वहीं पर हमें देखना कि क्यों नहीं है. एंड वी हैव टू टेक ए करेक्टिव मेजर. वन ऑफ द रीजन आई सेड कि उनकी फर्स्ट जनरेशन की अक्सर बेशतर एजुकेशन है, तो कल्चरली पीपल यूज टू ब्रिंग सम कल्चर, सम डिसिप्लिन, एंड वो जाकर के अलीगढ़ में और मचती थी. बट नाउ इफ समबडी इज कमिंग, उनका पहला लड़का पढ़ रहा है, बाकी लोग बेचारे कभी एजुकेशन नहीं थी, तो सर्टेनली देयर विल बी कंप्रोमाइज. इस पे एक जेम्स आवरी की बड़ी अच्छी मूवी थी शेक्सपियर वाला. दे ही कंपेयर्ड दैट दे शेक्सपियरियन थिएटर कैसे इंडिया में उसके लोग जो कल्चर्ड लोगों के बीच में होता था, और जब इंडियन मूवी में दोनों एक हीरोइन को उन्होंने कंपेयर करके दिखाया कि वाओ द कंप्रोमाइज कम्स फ्रॉम एलीट से हट करके जब अवामी लेवल पे कोई चीज आती है तो जनरली देयर इज अ कंप्रोमाइज. इशरत भाई,
Abdul,
तारिक कैन शेड मोर
well said.
लाइट.
Let me say that I agree with with what has been conveyed in that beautiful line of poetry. When I was actually writing my thoughts, I said to myself, should I really talk such inspiring stuff? Because people will say, well, you came, you gave a very motivational, inspirational talk or remarks, but where does it? It's all generality. I remember one of my ambassadors he was telling me, don't give me generality, I want specifics. But if you listen carefully to what I said, I did say some specific things. For example, on the point of leadership, I said, unless we have a democratic outlook and consultative process, we will never get leadership which is credible. The fact of the matter is that, and I hate to say this, leadership in Muslim countries, not only in India, but in Muslim countries in general, lacks credibility because they are unelected. Only people elected through a democratic process can have credibility. So that is as far as leadership issue is concerned. And from lack of democracy and credible leadership, lots of problems arise. In fact, this is one thing which we have to do. Most of all, we have to have democratic outlook. Without that, there is nothing can really be achieved. And all our problems are attributable to this very, very basic fact that we do not have democratic approach. We do not, and a democratic approach also means application of mind and reason to everything, and going by facts, going by data and drawing conclusions on that basis, not making conclusions based on dogmas.
I don't want to belabor the point, but at least as we can see academically, democracy in India is at least as old as the freedom. India got the freedom. I mean, whether the democracy has affected or benefited Indian Muslims and non-Muslims equally, I'm not sure. But as far as the democracy is concerned, India has uninterrupted democracy as far as the electoral system is concerned. Now, it is now seem to be tending towards illiberal democracy. Yeah, that's all we can say.
Thank you so much, because there was
just like to respond to this point.
Yeah, please go.
I think the problem of democracy in India is because of lack of genuine, sincere commitment of the people to all the norms and all the requirements of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There was ample time for discussion, but we are running out of that. There are a lot of questions to still take care of them. So, Neeraj Saab, please be brief. We are नीरज साहब।
हेलो जी, आप सुन रहे हैं मेरी आवाज?
जी, आपकी आवाज सुन रहे हैं।
तो मैं 2-3 बातें कहूंगा, अगर आप बुरा न माने, दिल से कही जाने वाली बात है, थोड़ी खरी खरी बात है। मेरा ही, आप देखिए, मैं तो अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी में कभी पढ़ा नहीं, सिर्फ उसके बारे में जाना। किस्मत चुगताई को पढ़ा तो, मजाज साहब को पढ़ा तो पता चला अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी क्या है। लेकिन अभी जैसा डॉक्टर अब्दुल्ला ने बताया कि सर सैयद का ये ख्वाब था कि ये यूनिवर्सिटी सिर्फ मुसलमानों के लिए ना बनाई जाए, हिंदू और मुस्लिम इस कंट्री के लिए दो आंखों के समान है, तो सबको उसमें बराबर रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिले। तो मेरा मानना है कि बट अलीगढ़ियंस ने उनके इस आइडियल को फेल किया है। देखिए, जो डायस्पोरा है, इसमें आज जो प्रेजेंट नंबर आप देखेंगे मोर देन 50, बट इसमें कितने नॉन मुस्लिम्स हैं। तो अनलेस एन एफर्ट इज मेड एट बिगिंस एट होम, जो बोलते हैं ना, चैरिटी बिगिंस एट होम, मस्जिद में दिया जलाने के पहले घर में दिया जलाना होगा। तो इसको डेमोक्रेटिक बना के थोड़ा ब्रॉड बेस करने की जरूरत है हर लेवल पर, तभी आप एग्जाम्पल सेट कर पाएंगे आज के स्टूडेंट्स के सामने। ये सर सैयद के आइडियल्स को सही तरीके से उनके सीनियर्स भी फॉलो कर रहे हैं, तो ये सबसे ज़्यादा जरूरी है। और अंत में ऑन लाइटर नोट, डॉक्टर अब्दुल्ला ने कहा कि यूसीसी जरूरी है, तो आई डो नॉट डिसएग्री विद हिम, बट उनसे एक ही दरख्वास्त है कि यूसीसी में हिंदुओं के लिए भी 4 शादियों का प्रोविजन करा दीजिएगा, थोड़ी दिक्कत होती है।
मुझे नहीं मालूम था, इतने डिस्परेट है।
नहीं, बात सही है हुजूर, आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग, बट वी आर डेस्परेट रियली।
Okay, but
किसने
point.
कहा कि 4 शादी एक मसला है भाई? I mean, uniform civil code, the
Okay,
thing is,
okay, come to the
I mean, I am
uniform.
talking about whatever the negotiation, as Ishrat Bhai said, in a democratic process, what negotiate. It is an idea that Muslims perhaps will be more safer to safeguard their rights in a uniform civil code than the individual thing because it is being attacked. That's what I'm saying.
It was in a lighter when I said in the
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah. But the main point was to bring the everyone on the platform.
Yeah.
So there is a one comment from Wasiuzzama, why are we not talking in Urdu or Hindi? So that's one. And another is from Iram Gul, Dr. Iram Gul. What is the facts behind the famous Urdu-Hindi controversy and Sir Sayyid's letter to Mr. Shakespeare? Kindly enlighten this issue.
What is the conspiracy? The thing is that, I mean, it is going out of subject, but the conspiracy is that in 1865, around that period, when the British removed Persian as an official language from UP and wanted to introduce English, उस वक्त जो है सर सैयद ने कंप्लेन किया था कि उर्दू जो है लिंगुआ फ्रैंका है यूपी की, एंड देयरफॉर इट शुड बी रिप्लेस बाय उर्दू, फारसी को हटा करके। तो वो जो है ब्रिटिश को नहीं करना था, तो उन्होंने पहली मर्तबा एक किताब पब्लिश की हिंदी स्क्रिप्ट में, फोर्ट विलियम कॉलेज से, दो की खड़ी बोली में थी। उससे पहले खड़ी बोली में हिंदी की कोई किताब नहीं थी, वो सारी अवधी में या इसमें जो इतने दोहे वगैरह थे वो छपते थे। तो फर्स्ट टाइम दे पब्लिश्ड ए बुक, एंड ऑल्सो उन्होंने ये लगा दिया कि उर्दू की स्क्रिप्ट जो है वो फॉरेन है। तो दो चीज़ें जो उन्होंने डिवाइड एंड रूल में लैंग्वेज को भी घुसा दिया वहाँ पे। तो दैट वाज ए ब्रिटिश 1865 में उसी पे सर सैयद का, बल्कि वहाँ भारतेंद्र जो बाद में ही वॉज ए उर्दू पोएट एंड कंपेनियन ऑफ सर सैयद बनारस में, तो उन्होंने जब हिंदी का कंपेन उनसे सर सैयद से कुछ डिस्कशन हुए तो ही डिड नॉट एग्री। तो सर सैयद के एक जुमला ये था कि भाई इनसे गुजारा जरा मुश्किल हो रहा है। तो सम पीपल इंटरप्रेटेड इट कि दैट ही वाज फाउंडर ऑफ टू नेशन थ्योरी। लेकिन क्वेश्चन ये है कि ब्रिटिश को डिवाइड करना था, तो उन्होंने लैंग्वेज तक में ले आके डिवीजन पैदा कर दिया था। दैट्स द रीजन टू द बेस्ट ऑफ माई नॉलेज। और ये इसके सोर्स है शब्बुर रहमान फारूकी। I was driving him somewhere, so he gave me that lecture. So that's a reliable source.
Thank you. Another is from Mirza Beg, I think Mirza Salim Beg. So you just said that universal civil code, uniform civil code. So his question is, did I hear correctly that Abdullah Bhai proposed the acceptance of the uniform civil code? What is the advantage?
What is the advantage? Advantage is, I don't know what is the disadvantage. If you will not have it, then eventually in this process you lost already talaq thing, you lost the I mean, what is that going on right now? Awqaf. So the pressure is there. If there is a uniform civil code, then everybody will defend that. Now a group of Muslims is defending their rights, and it will never be defended. So that is the logic. And also, what do you lose in that? Where the other thing, except शादी करने के अलावा और कौन सा रूल मुसलमान इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं? सवाए 4 शादी करनी तो मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ इस्तेमाल हो जाता है। बाकी लड़की को अभी खेत में से पैसे देने तो कोई नहीं देता। तो दीज थिंग्स, आई मीन, यू हैव टू इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करना है आपको। यू हैव टू गो फॉरवर्ड। अगर आपको खुद करनी चाहिए ना कोई लेकर।
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. There is.
May I add something to it?
Only one sentence, please go ahead.
हाँ, only one sentence सर। देखिए, ऐसा है कि आज हिंदुस्तान में बहुत सारे कानून बन चुके हैं जो पर्सनल लॉ को ओवरराइड करते हैं। इसलिए पर्सनल लॉ में अब सिर्फ एक ही या दो चीजें बची हैं जो सही मायनों में मुसलमानों के लिए हिंदुओं से अलग है, बाकी हर चीज में सेम है। जैसे एक बहुत सिंपल एग्जांपल है मेंटेनेंस का। ऐसे बोलते हैं कि मुस्लिम औरतों को मेंटेनेंस का हक नहीं है, लेकिन पुराना सीआरपीसी जो था, जो अभी जुलाई 2024 में अमेंड हुआ, उसमें एक सेक्शन था 125, जिसमें हर औरत को उसके शौहर से मेंटेनेंस का प्रोविजन था और वो मुसलमान औरतों को भी मिलता था। इसलिए ये अब बहुत एक तरीके से ये गलतफहमी रह गई है कि यूसीसी आने से कोई बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ेगा। हर चीज में तो सब हिंदुस्तानी कानून लागू हो रहा है, सिर्फ एक इनहेरिटेंस में अभी नहीं है और शादी में नहीं है, बाकी तो सब पर जो जनरल लॉ है वही अप्लाई करता है।
Thank you. Okay. And this question, okay, there is one more question from Iram, but I will come back because I wanted to cover everyone. Time permitting, I will come back to Dr. Iram's question. So there is another question is from Victor Ghalib Beg, and this is for Ishrat Aziz Saab. I didn't hear any emphasis on business. Education, no doubt, is critical, but non-Muslim also need to lead in creating businesses and jobs. Indian Muslim branded businessmen as Baniyas.
I think I have made it very clear, my emphasis on business. I've said you need to have created ideas about banking, finance, and interest. And the purpose of that is to ensure that Muslims do much more in business than they have done historically and even today. So I am very clear. I have always maintained, and actually Sir Sayyid's first emphasis was, though he did not mention business, but education was for purpose of economic prosperity. Business is important for economic prosperity. And I said that business and finance has always been a weak point with Muslims in the very beginning. So as far as I'm concerned, I am all for taking to business much more. And when I said, though Muslims are only 13% of the population, their goal must be to contribute 20% to India's progress and prosperity. That can only be done by business, not by, what else can contribute to progress and prosperity? Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from Srikant Chopra. What do you think of Jews in USA model and its applicability in India for other minorities? Good question.
Is this question addressed to me?
Well, you can take it.
Well, I will just tell you something which my father said to me, and that is now 75 years ago. He said, learn hard work and emphasis on education, research, getting Nobel Prize, etc., from one community which, though its population is 0.01%, it has bagged 30% of the Nobel Prizes of the world. So my answer is very simple. Yes, there is a lot to learn from the way they have survived for 2,000 years and the way they have come up, and that is admirable. Thank you.
One thing, can I interject?
Yeah,
Razi has very, precisely put this. The title was that, what are the challenges to the Aligs? I think we are going in different directions. The focus was that, like what Aligs.
True. Yeah, we are right.
And so the question is going in many multiple directions. We got to focus that on the Aligarh movement's spirit and what Aligarians or the Aligs can do. And that's what I was trying to I mean, like try to put some points there. So if that is directed, because there are lots of problems, I mean, we can discuss in some other session. Right now, we should focus on that. Perhaps that will be better.
Okay, so now, since there is some time left, I am going to take Dr. Irangul's question. You said that the British snatched rule from the Mughals, and the Muslims and the suspicious of the Muslim owing to their participation in War of Independence. Was not it the fact that both Hindus and the Muslim fought together, then why only Muslims were suspicious for the British government?
Well,
Is it?
I made the point that the Muslims were the rulers before the British came and took over India. And that's why the Muslims resented. And that's a very historical fact. The Muslims were reluctant to learn English. They were reluctant to learn adopt modern education. And that was, of course, a mistake. But the fact is that this is a historical fact. And the British were also very suspicious of Muslims because they thought we have taken away their power and they will naturally resent it, and which they did. So I have only stated that. I have not gone into the whole question of the Hindus joined Muslims in the War of Independence, as we call it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And British believed that, that the uprising really was initiated by Muslims. That's the way they believed, and that's why they were suppressing them more. And also, as Ishad Bhai is saying, they took the power from there. So there were two reasons. They were really trying to suppress the Muslims more than the other Indians.
Thank you. And Dr. Iramgul, I am not going to take the third question. Sorry about that. Tariq Farooqi, please.
Tariq, you are muted. Tariq, you are muted.
Sorry, I just realized that. I just have an observation rather than a question based on something that was discussed earlier. Talking about cultural purity, and I think it was clearly mentioned that, as education became more universal and as different groups of people started coming in, that purity was going to be diluted, and that is to be expected. That is not something that, sometimes we get disappointed about that, but it's not something that we should worry about. What we should worry about is, and in some instances, Aligarh is doing better because I see that a lot of international rankings put Aligarh Muslim University. In terms of Indian universities, one could say that most of Indian universities don't do very well compared to Western universities. But that's besides the point. But when you talk about Indian universities alone, Aligarh seems to be doing, better and consistently in a higher upper echelon of colleges and universities in India. So that is a good point. What I would be more concerned about is, based on anecdotal evidence, is are we still living up to what we started with Sasi's message of free inquiry, of large-hearted tolerance? Do we have this free inquiry and large-hearted tolerance built inside us, or we are just looking inwards because, a minority community sometimes does that because they think that they're under siege and they start looking inwards, and you see, people moving backwards rather than forwards. Any comments?
Comment ये है कि अगर करते तारीफ तो हमारी हालत क्यों होती? We are not doing that. Ishad Bhai was saying something.
Yes, that's very true. Actually, large-hearted tolerance and spirit of inquiry are very difficult issues. I mean, it's very easy to practice certain things and claim that this is what our tradition is. But just to give you an example, always wearing sherwani is our tradition, for example. And I remember not being allowed to speak because I didn't have my topi on. But that's neither here nor there. The real thing is, which is so important, is large-heartedness. Believe me, it's very difficult to be large-hearted because human nature is small-hearted. and you have to make an effort to be large-hearted. It does not come naturally. Small-mindedness comes naturally. Broad-mindedness requires effort. And so there I'm afraid we need to make a lot more progress than what we have. We always adopt those ideals which are easy to follow and leave behind those which are difficult to follow. This happens even in religion, which is a separate issue altogether. Thank you.
Thank you.
How really to cultivate large-hearted toleration? Any idea?
I have an idea. People will say large-heartedness is a moral issue. I say no, it is a practical issue. It is not just necessary. Large-heartedness is not good only to be for the other world. Large-heartedness is necessary
from here.
World, because we have so many problems because of what you will call small-heartedness or wanting more than your due share. It is human nature to want more than your due share. Nobody is willing to say, okay, I'm willing to accept 49%, but let us settle this issue. No. Everybody wants 51%, and you cannot have two 51%. One will be 49 and the other will be 51. So large-heartedness, I say, okay, I must say this something very simple. Morality, which we think, selflessness, doing good to others, paying your dues, taxes, is all good, or charity is all good for the other world. Doesn't matter whether you get anything or not. I said, no, it is good for this world. Because if you practice greed beyond a certain point, you will create nothing but conflict. So
that why 50-50 is not possible?
No, there is no way. I mean, 50-50 is possible in numbers, but when you want to divide a house as property, then 50-50 is not possible. Someone will have to be satisfied with 51%. You can have that can be your honest goal, but it is like for example, physics. You cannot reach the absolute vacuum. Similarly, you cannot reach absolute 50%. Not in matters. In matters like justice, for example, you cannot have a 50% division. It's always the balance will tilt on one side or the other. And if you are not willing to accept that and accept less than what you think is your share, I'm sorry, you will continue to have conflict. You look at all the international conflicts, which I study very carefully. Everybody wants more than one's due share. And they are willing to fight and destroy each other and destroy everything and lose everything. But no, they will not accept less than what they think is their due share.
Okay, so not to extend that discussion, I have a point there. But so I'm happy that I didn't take the Ram's question, but somehow...
Nazir Saab bahut der se
Yeah, I have seen his end. So at least it is the tolerance question is answered at least in part. So Dr. Nazir Ahmad, okay, let's hear the expert comment.
Ji, assalamu alaikum. A brief comment. Aligarh was a vision. It was a movement. It was an institution. And on all three counts, Sir Syed was eminently successful. First of all, we must remember that what he did was within the context of a global resistance against European imperialism. Because at the same time, Muhammad Abdul of Egypt, Jamaluddin Afghani, Zia Gökalp in Turkey, all of these great thinkers and doers were doing things at the same time. Then, as Dr. Abdullah rightly pointed out, Ganga behti rahi, zamana badalta gaya. Then in the formative years in the Indian context of the 1930s, Aligarh caught up with the vortex of the thought processes, starting with 1931, Allama Iqbal's reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, ending up with the Lahore Resolution of 1940. Then came the partition, and what we did not do. Some of the issues that we are discussing, namely the civil code, the awqaf, etc., are a consequence of what has happened since then. Now, coming to the challenges that we face today as humankind, the primary challenge before humankind is economic centration. And we have to ask ourselves whether we are Aligarhians or not, what are we doing to address these issues? Secondly, the increasing marginalization of the individual and the authoritarian developments in the world, not just in India, in the United States, all over the world. Now, that's also in the context of a decrease in the spiritual elements in the world. So the question before us is, what are we doing in those areas as elites? And secondly, at the bottom level, education. People talk about higher education, Nobel Prizes, etc. Our challenge is primary education. If the Muslims in India vote for and put their weight behind universal primary education, it will benefit everyone, and especially the Muslims.
Yeah, thank you. That's a one action plan. So before we discuss further on the same topic, what just Abdullah Bhai noted that we digress to generalities. So there is a one question from Abbas Akhil Saab. Can we get down to the actionable plan? Although some of them were discussed by Ishrat Bhai and Abdullah Bhai, can we rehash that point again? Including Nazir Saab's comment. He gave at least one thing.
The thing, what do you want to discuss?
I mean 3 or 4 or 5 bullet points.
Bullet points. I was saying that, in order to really mobilize the movement and the role of alumni, that, only the Aligarh alumni are not sufficient. So there is you go and enlarge the group. So there has to be a database and lack of organization we have, number one. There is a political awareness is lacking that needs to be. Then the social challenges are like how to cope with like interfaith dialogue and all that. Then the economic challenges are there. And then the university, other things we can do. So basically, these are the general things. How the alumni can do, I had some points there, so that we have our own limitations. And
okay, Ishrat Bhai,
the thing is that my point was this Sir Sayyid's mission was basically the education to bring the Muslim community at par with the majority so that they can be equal partner in building the nation. So that objective remains same of the Aligarh movement when it was at Sir Sayyid time, it is today's time. Now the circumstances have changed, so our strategy has to change. And that is what I was pointing out 2-3 things that where we can put emphasis really to achieve that goal.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Gul, there is an email address from Barbara Metcalf. You can look at it and contact her. So I don't.
Umair Faris. Umair Faris has a raised hand.
Can I quickly respond to what Abdullah was saying, actually, and expand on that based on what has been said? I think when Ishrat Aziza was speaking, I made some quick notes, and he'd already mentioned that we have to be more democratic in our approach. establish the democratic process, do more hard work, harder than we currently do, excel in education and research. I mean, what we are doing is not enough. We have to do better. And some people have given an example of what the Jews have done in the United States and elsewhere. And be more reasonable, reason-based, evidence-based, rather than what we currently do. Excel in everything, including games. The equality of women. I mean, you cannot put 50% of the people inside the homes and think of competing with the rest of the world. Out-of-box thinking, change, secularism, our devotion to secularism, our belief in secularism. And he had mentioned a few other things, but these are the things that I noted while he was speaking. And I think, so all of them can be expanded as sort of an action plan. Thank you.
So Tariq Bhai, it boils down to the education. Everything is related. Anyway, thank you. Omer Fares. Omer Fares, please unmute yourself.
It's not Umair Faris. My grandson has hijacked my iPad.
It's always happens, Omer.
This is Hassan Fayaz. Now, my point is that 50% of the intake at AMU at the entry level is from the AMU schools. And therefore, the schools are a very important feeder system into the university. By all accounts, the standards of education in the schools leave a lot to be desired. And I have been talking to many, many people in Aligarh. I've talked to 3 vice chancellors, which includes Naseem Ahmed Saab, General Zamiluddin Shah Saab, and the current vice chancellor, that what can be done to improve the standards of these schools so the intake in the university is improved, and with the value addition in the university, the output will be improved. Now, I haven't got anyway though I've been talking about it for a long time. My question is, what kind of activities can the alumni organize to bring pressure upon the administration to pay more attention to this very vital issue of the standards of AMU schools? And how can we start changing the state of affairs that exists in the schools? That's my question.
Yeah, this is the same question what Nazir Saab said. Is about the primary, universal primary education.
No,
Any more comment from Ishrat Bhai, Tariq Bhai, or
here I'm focusing on the AMU schools. I'm not talking of universal primary. I'm talking of specifically the 9 or 10 AMU managed schools going up to secondary level. That's my point. It's not about universal primary.
Okay, Shraddha, you want to say something? I can.
I want to say that yes, what Hassan says is very correct, and we should have a program for improving the quality of education in these primary institutions, because they are the feeder institutions as far as the university is concerned. Of course, there is the larger issue, which is not narrowly focused on AMU, but Muslims, as far as I'm concerned, I look upon the issue as much bigger, that Muslims do need to have education. They need to have the right kind of attitude. As I said, they should be taught how to think, not what to think. In fact, emphasis in most places is you should think this, but not how to think. I say how to think is important, because then you are an independent thinker. And how to think basically means that when you say something, you look for evidence and facts and reason. That is my submission. As far as I'm concerned, what Hassan says is absolutely true. We should do something for these feeder institutions. Thank you.
Only thing is, Ishrat Bhai, that yes, we should do, but how to do it?
Yeah.
And the thing is that yes, we are sitting here. Sometimes we just write 2 letters to Vice Chancellor or somebody else. I mean, they have 100 other things. They do not pay attention. So there has to be a constant effort. I mean, somebody takes a project that this is my mission, that in 3 years I want to bring a change. And then keep on pushing. Everybody go over there, have a seminar, mobilize people. And that is where we lack, I guess, that we take a project and all that, and we know better perhaps that the realities, ground realities are different. So we talk from here, it doesn't make any change. So
can I say, just have a few seconds?
yeah.
I think the one thing we can do is to just create a fund for, as far as finance is concerned, to create a fund for these, for improvements in these schools. That's one thing. Of course, there are other things that will be required, but to me, funds are always the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And that Dr. Fasal Khan raised a similar question, that universities in India are geared towards the stay in box and found safe job. This is not geared to go out of the box and challenge yourself, something like a start business, etc. And that is true, because that is the fundamental for the Muslims in India, at least, to find a job. So,
Rafat, may I make one comment?
Please go ahead.
Don't mind. It will be short. I just concur with Ishad Bhai. See, in order to effect administration in India, first you have to know their limitations, number one. Number two, you have to be able to deliver something financially or in other intellectually in order to effect their demeanor. We have to understand their issues and their problems as well. We go from West, we live in different environment, and then we try to impose maybe a harsh word, but we still try to make them do something they are not comfortable. So we have to adjust to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, and now I think Razi Bhai would have a lot to say. And back to, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
मेरी आवाज ज्यादा नहीं है, बहुत होती है। नजीर साहब आपको फिर कुछ कहना?
Very briefly,
Sorry, I missed that.
A lot of questions have been raised. One of the reasons why we in the southern part of India have been successful is that the Muslims themselves have taken the initiative to establish institutions, primary schools, secondary schools, high schools, etc. For instance, just not to highlight what I have done, I'm already 86 years old. We established the HMS Institute of Technology in the district of Tumkur, all the way from the primary school to PhD levels, 10,000 students. And we are not the only ones. The Aligarh movement was the primary movement, the driver for all of the things that happened in the subcontinent. My submission has been is that it is possible if we focus on the basics. It's not just the primary school is not just the feeder schools for higher institution. They are the backbone for the Muslims. If we look at the poverty level amongst the Muslims, roughly 6 out of 10 students fall out by the time they go to the 8th grade. And another 30% fall out before they pass high school, and on and on. When I was in the Legislative Assembly, when I worked with the Karnataka Knowledge Commission, my emphasis always was to emphasize primary education. And that, in my opinion, is the basis for rejuvenation of Muslims and of all the the disadvantaged people in India. Primary education.
All right.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so thank you once again, all three speakers and their wives sitting next to each other. So thank you, Farzana Appa. And so thank you to all audience for your participation. I think it was a good discussion. So back to Dr. Razi Razidin. Thank you once again.
Really, it was a very good session, very interactive and a lot of questions raised. But the whole thing that people, although we digress to other issues and we should have focused more on the Aligarh movement, there is some kind of echo somewhere. I don't understand why. But anyway, so the issue, as at the last Nazir Sahab said, who belongs to South India, Karnataka, the Aligarh movement probably latter part most effectively was really implemented in South India. Then the vision, they really took it from there. And you can see the difference of South Indian Muslims versus North Indian Muslims. And North India, you can see our failure that after Aligarh Muslim University, basically we did not or could not establish another institution. I mean, you can name some Shibli College or some other colleges, Halim College. These are not really big institution. And Jamia, obviously, you cannot claim Jamia on that. Or Hamdard, that is a totally different ballgame. So we did not really put emphasis. Still, we don't. I mean, very honestly, as you said, Ishad Bhai, we don't have a fund. We have specific funds, but we don't have an education fund, which we can use everywhere, anywhere. And this was Aligarh's primary responsibilities. The Aligarh students, when Sir Syed said that you go forth is only just to establish more branches, to educate more and more people so that they can go and find jobs, create businesses, and become more compatible. We really did not or could not for various reasons. Rather, we focused most Aligarian, anywhere you go. For whatever reason, the focus remained mostly on cultural things. They are very good in that. No doubt about it. But that doesn't make you compatible. I mean, that doesn't, because you don't compete into highly competitive exams. You don't create businesses. You are not seen anywhere. So what we can say, we come back on one question. Are we going to prioritize this thing ever, that education and education alone remains or remained the goal of Sir Syed or Aligarh, and still remains the same? We are still not at par with Hindus. The same way we are still lagging far behind. So, and why put the example of Jews in India? Just take the examples of Brahmins in India. They are less in number than Jew, I guess. But you see them everywhere. Why? Why they are still so successful? Are they just, it's not that everybody is helping others. They are just successful because their priority remains to be at the top. So that's it. I mean, I'm not blaming, doing anything. I myself failed because we are unable to create anything significant impacting the community. So तारक भाई को चैलेंज है, अब्दुल्ला भाई का तो है ही है, पूरी जिंदगी इन्होंने लगे रहे बेचारे इसी में।
तारक की कम थोड़ी लगी भाई, क्यों क्रेडिट ले रहे हैं?
सब लगे रहे इंशाल्लाह।
No, I think, I mean, you have a point, but as Ishrat Bhai said earlier, the North India, basically the Zimedari actually killed us. We had a different mindset and that was a setback. I mean, उसके ऐश कर लिए लोगों ने, इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया में जिम्मेदारी टूट गई, भंगी हो गए वैसे भी, एंड एजुकेशन में
70 years बहुत होता है।
नहीं, I know.
This all was robbed 70.
Abdullah and Razi were not using that as an excuse, लेकिन नॉर्थ में challenges कहीं ज़्यादा थे साउथ से, क्योंकि खाली जमींदारी की बात नहीं, सुन लीजिए बात। I agree with you, 70 years बहुत होता है, लेकिन पॉलिटिक्स जो थी, पार्टीशन वगैरह सब फोकस्ड ऑन नॉर्थ इंडिया था। जो रिएक्शन भी हुआ वो ज़्यादातर नॉर्थ इंडिया में था। साउथ इंडिया डिड नॉट सफर बिकॉज ऑफ दैट। तो वी वर behind, we were always, और उसके बाद काफ़ी देर गिल्ट कॉम्प्लेक्स, नॉर्थ इंडिया में रहा, नॉर्थ एंड साउथ इंडिया. सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ मुस्लिम्स बहुत सी चेंजेस हैं, बहुत से फ़र्क पड़े हैं. आई एम नॉट यूजिंग दैट एज एन एक्सक्यूज, बट वी वर लेफ्ट बिहाइंड 20, 30, 40 years. कुछ कर ही नहीं पाए. बहुत से वजूहात हैं, इनमें से ये भी हैं. So not using that as an excuse, we have to move on. Agreed.
नहीं,
But
आप यूज कीजिए तारिफ, यूज कर रहे एज एक्सक्यूज that gives a consolation.
I
Yes,
think Sadiq has made a very valid point.
yeah.
So look, today, economically, educationally, states to the south of Narmada River, or whatever you want to put it that way, right way, they are way ahead.
Yeah.
They are way ahead.
Mhm.
So, but the thing is, we don't have money, and whatever money we have, we can at the best utilize it most effectively, whatever be that way of doing it. But hard work does not require wealth. I mean, you look at the lives of people who have been successful. Nadella, he says that his father had to collect 5 months' salary to be able to send him to America. And you know who he is, and you know who are the CEOs of the top 25 companies in America, and what is their background. So it is, finally, I keep wondering, पैसा होता तो सब कुछ हो जाता, पैसे से ही तो हम बेस्ट स्कूल्स में जाते हैं, सब ठीक है, पैसा तो है नहीं तो क्या करें.
पैसा was important, but मैं ये अर्ज करूँ आपसे कि नॉर्थ इंडिया ने गदर के बाद से मुस्लिम लीडरशिप was largely drawn from नॉर्थ इंडिया, चाहे वो कल्चर में हो, पॉलिटिक्स में हो, एजुकेशन में हो, and that was some justification why Sir Sayyid decided to found the Aligarh Muslim University in North India in Aligarh. साउथ में हुआ कुछ, लेकिन देखिए मेरे ज़माने में अब्दुल्ला साहब प्रो वाइस चांसलर होके आए, जो कि मद्रास में थे बड़े, एंड ही वाज वेरी वेरी पॉपुलर देयर, एंड अलीगढ़ में भी बड़े पॉपुलर रहे. लेकिन ये कि नॉर्थ इंड लीडरशिप जो है अब नॉर्थ इंडिया में मुसलमानों ही के नहीं, नॉर्थ इंडिया में यूपी एंड बिहार आर बोथ द मोस्ट डिप्रेस्ड प्रोविंसेस इन इंडिया. तो वो जो कुछ भी फिनोमेना है इज अफेक्टिंग both communities, Hindus and Muslims. Muslims don't have any more the leadership they used to have. I don't know whether the leadership has passed on to the South India. I don't think it is the case. But for some reason, North India has been a depressed area now for a while.
Actually, एक चीज इसमें ऐड कर दे, हम लोग को आदत थोड़ा सेंट्रल इंडिया में जो रही है कि वो सर सैयद के बयान उन्होंने देखा नहीं. Actually, parallel to Sir Sayyid's time, and there was an effort also. दो बहुत ही स्ट्रांग मूवमेंट्स वेस्ट इंडिया में थे बदरुद्दीन तैयब जी के. बदरुद्दीन तैयब जी वो नहीं जो वाइस चांसलर हुए थे, बल्कि जो कांग्रेस के प्रेसिडेंट थे बहुत पहले गांधी जी के साथ. आप देख रहे हैं अंजुमन इस्लाम एंड खैरुल इस्लाम के thousands स्कूल एंड कॉलेजेस, that was established by him, not by Sir Sayyid or anybody else. So entire West India, और उसका impact साउथ इंडिया में भी पड़ा था. Thousands of entire Maharashtra, entire Karnataka and half of Gujarat, huge territory में जो Muslims थे, it was all due to Badruddin Tayyibji's schools and colleges, technical institution. And parallel to that, Justice Amir Ali, जो बंगाल में थे, उससे उनसे अप्रोच भी सर सैयद की हुई, बट दे couldn't agree. ढाका में उनका एजुकेशन फाउंडेशन और कलकत्ता में थी. इंटायर मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन जो बंगाल और आसाम की है, और हाफ ऑफ बिहार जो बंगाल में था उस जमाने में, ये सर सैयद के असर से नहीं थी, ये जस्टिस अमीर अली की थी. वो जितने भी इंस्टीट्यूशन थे बंगाल आसाम के सारे, वो उस जमाने में सब उनके अंडर में थे और सब उनके इम्पैक्ट में थे. तो देयर वेर मूवमेंट्स, वेरी स्ट्रांग मूवमेंट्स, एंड सम रियली फ्लोरिश इन साउथ इंडिया. साउथ इंडिया में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉपर्टी मुस्लिम्स पास नहीं थी, दे वर रियली स्मॉल मर्चेंट्स. लेकिन उन्होंने ये रियलाइज किया कि बगैर एजुकेशन के, बगैर इंस्टीट्यूशन इस्टेब्लिश किए नहीं कर सकते. सर सैयद के मरने के बाद हम लोगों के यहाँ सिर्फ पॉलिटिक्स का गेम हुआ था. I mean, we don't have to shy away from that. We just, all our intellectuals were indulged into pure hardcore politics. For look at Aligarh Muslim University after 2025 up to 47. Every single person, you name it, they were professionals, but they didn't pursue their profession. they pursued politics, every single one. एंड उन्होंने कभी ये परसू नहीं किया कि मद्रास यूनिवर्सिटी में, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में, इधर उधर जो और नॉन मुस्लिम्स कम्पीट कर रहे हैं वो आप यहाँ करो। मैथ को फिजिक्स में बना तो दिया, बट दे आर ऑल इंडल्ज इन दिस हार्डकोर पॉलिटिक्स। तो वो था। फिर हमारे यहाँ क्या हुआ, आज़ादी के बाद उर्दू और अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी का माइनॉरिटी कैरेक्टर, वी वर पार्ट ऑफ दैट मूवमेंट। सड़क पे हम लोग जाके भीख मांगते थे। I don't remember in my entire youth grown up life में कि कोई भी सिंगल अलीग या नॉन अलीग मुस्लिम लीडर ने एजुकेशन की मूवमेंट चलाया।
तो रजी भाई, हम लोग तो प्रॉब्लम तो मालूम है ना सबको। ये
व्हाट आई एम सेइंग,
मैं एक्शन प्लान की बात करें,
वो एक्शन इसीलिए तो हमारा बुरा हाल है।
तो मैं उसके ऊपर कहना चाहता हूँ।
Yeah, we never talk about action plan. Not
ये बताइए कि वाकई फंड्स तो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है।
हम लोग गरीब इतने नहीं है।
ठीक है, हाँ वही सवाल आ रहा है मेरा, जो है फंड्स तो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है। मुसलमानों के पास लाखों करोड़ के तो वो जो है रिलीजियस फंक्शंस में पैसे खर्च करते हैं, करोड़ों हजारों करोड़ जो है ज़कात का पैसा है, अगर उसको इस्तेमाल कायदे से किया जाए। तो मेरे ख्याल में फंड्स तो प्राइमरी चीज है, लेकिन विल जो है मुसलमानों की
विल नहीं है,
विल इज मिसिंग।
ये बताइए, आपके हमारे घरों से लड़के करोड़ रुपया दे करके पढ़ते हैं, करोड़ रुपया दे के पढ़ते हैं, 50 लाख तक चले गए हैं लोग। ये हमारे घरों से लेकर रहा पैसा।
अब मैं कुर्बानी का नहीं चाह रहा, लाखों करोड़ की तो कुर्बानी हो जाती है।
नहीं, वो नहीं, छोड़ी। इंग्लिश स्कूल में पढ़ा रहे हैं, IITs में पढ़ा रहे हैं, प्राइवेट मेडिकल कॉलेजेस में पढ़ा रहे हैं, हम ही आपके घरों के लोग पढ़ा रहे हैं। तो ये पैसा कहीं और क्यों नहीं भी जमा कर सकते?
हाँ नहीं, बात तो जनरल पब्लिक की हो रही है, जो है जो लोग नहीं पढ़ा रहे हैं उनकी ख्वाहिश भी है कि नहीं पढ़ने की। ये तो एक सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है।
आप जब कोई मूवमेंट ही नहीं चलाओगे तो क्या करोगे?
Anyway, I hope that something comes out of this lecture and some action.
आप अपना हिस्सा वहाँ बेच क्यों नहीं दे रहे? बेच के पब्लिक में वो फंड डाल दीजिए।
मैं तो तैयार हूँ,
लेकिन कोई
आप बेचारे को क्यों ऑन द स्पॉट रख रहे हैं भाई? दिस इज नॉट फेयर रजी।
इन्होंने अपना हिस्सा दे दिया दूसरों को ना।
नहीं, तब वो तो कुछ नहीं कर रहे, पैसे की नहीं बात ये कर रहे हैं कि जो एक्चुअली कन्वर्ज करना चाहिए था विद एक्शन प्लान। बट एनीवे दैट
अब्दुल्ला भाई, आप लीड कीजिए ना, और कर दीजिए हर के सर पे, कुछ मत कीजिए, एक काम कीजिए। अलीगढ़ एलुमनाई एसोसिएशन ऑफ वाशिंगटन DC के अंडर में पुट 100 पीपल और मे बी 1000 पीपल, 1000 उनसे ले लीजिए। और उसके बाद
आइडिया
1000 डॉलर
पैसे से पहले रजी काहे के लिए पैसा ले रहे हैं, दैट शुड बी क्लियर। मनी से पहले मनी कोई नहीं देगा unless you explain to them कि काहे
बिल्कुल एजुकेशन फंड आप क्रिएट कर रहे हैं।
इंशाल्लाह इस साल जो ये सब हम लोग को 50 साल का खत्म हो रहे हैं, तो लेट अस 51 ईयर से हम लोग यही काम शुरू कर देते हैं।
तारिक भाई ने अपना 1000 का भी
I just want to say one thing at least.
तैयार है।
This concludes the session. Now you can continue talking, because if somebody gets stuck here and they are thinking of something might be coming up. Now this is just chit chat session. If you want to continue, that is
recording बंद करें तो
recording
कैसा एडिट कर देते हो?
तो
last is hold on the, so everybody can start saying whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly. So मैं फजल भाई के पास कुछ आइडिया है। फजल भाई
बिल्कुल,
बदल म्यूटेड है।
I think एक जो हमारा ये किस्सा है अलीगढ़ का और हिंदुस्तानी मुसलमानों का, पाकिस्तानी मुसलमानों, ये भी है कि ये बड़ा एम्बिशियस है कि आप अपने तौर पे समझ रहे हैं कि यू कैन इन एनी वे, ह्यूज कंट्री लाइक इंडिया, मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन दे, चाहे वो हो या दूसरी जगह हो, you can influence their direction. I mean, it is something which is a little too, I think, to be too arrogant, that in a small community in the यहाँ जो है diaspora या जहाँ भी है, कि we can influence the general direction of Indian Muslims, or Indian Aligarh University even. Is beyond that, अगर कुछ हम कर सकते हैं तो अपने तौर पे मुसलमानों के लिए, तो our own wherever we are in this country, अमेरिका में भी बड़ी ज़रूरत इस वक्त है कि मुस्लिम्स जो भी यहाँ पर हैं या साउथ एशियंस हैं have, and I see the some movement happening to have their own betterment here. Political process में यहाँ अभी शुरू हुआ है, वरना Muslims are not even anywhere visible. It's not that they not.
आमिर भाई आपके सामने
भाई both will go in parallel.
नजीर साहब ने और जब्बार साहब चले गए जो तमिलनाडु के हैं, उन लोगों ने आपको एग्जाम्पल दिया। आपने कहा कि कोई असर बहुत ज्यादा नहीं होता। इंटायर साउथ इंडिया, आई विल रिपीट, इंटायर साउथ इंडिया के मुसलमान 30 साल पहले और अब जाके देखिए इज टोटली चेंज, और ऑल बिकॉज ऑफ द कंट्रीब्यूशन फ्रॉम इंडिविजुअल्स और एक आध बिजनेसमैन से। सिंगल माइंडेड ये वो था।
बिजनेसमैन, अमेरिकन बिजनेसमैन,
अमेरिकन नहीं, वहां के मुस्लिम से।
मैं तो ये अर्ज कर रहा हूँ कि ये
यहाँ की बात कर,
नहीं, हम तो यहाँ की नहीं बात कर रहे हैं ना, हम तो इंडिया के मुस्लिम्स की बात कर रहे हैं।
अर्ज करने का मतलब ये है कि इस ख्याल को तो आप अच्छा है, नोबल, बस ना गोइंग टू हैपन।
ईश्वर भाई आप म्यूट
आप
हो
वही
गए।
कह रहे हैं, नॉट गोइंग टू हैपन, दैट्स व्हाट हैज हैपेंड देयर।
I mean, you are saying they are not, because whatever happened there is not affected by the Muslims in America, or जो कुछ भी है वो लोकली जो मुस्लिम कर रहे हैं, उन्होंने साउथ इंडिया में किया हुआ और नॉर्थ इंडिया में भी यही होगा।
नहीं हुआ ना,
अरे
वही तो क्वेश्चन हो रहा, नहीं हुआ।
देखिए, लॉफ्टी बातें करने से तो जो है कुछ हल नहीं होना है। आपको ग्राउंड रियलिटी देखनी है। ग्राउंड रियलिटी में क्या होता है कि अगर आप किसी को पढ़ाना चाहते हैं और वो लड़की जो है, बेटी जो है 10 साल की 8 साल की हुई, उसने कहा नहीं हम स्कूल नहीं भेजेंगे, क्योंकि रिलीजियस थिंकिंग इज सो मच इनग्रेन्ड देयर कि नहीं हमारी बेटी अब बड़ी हो गई, लोगों का जो है हम अब पढ़ के क्या करेगी। तो आपको माइंड सेट चेंज करना है। हम जो है सपोर्ट भी कर रहे हैं, उसके बावजूद वो कह रहे हैं नहीं नहीं हम नहीं अब भेज सकते उस बच्ची को, जो है
आपको लाखों मिलेंगे पढ़ने वाले,
तो
लाखों
ये वाला जो माइंड सेट है जिसको आप एजुकेट करना चाहते हैं, जो बिल्कुल जैसे डिसएडवांटेज जो है पॉपुलेशन है वहाँ आप कोशिश करते हैं, वो जो है आपका रिलीजियसिटी आ जाती है उसमें। वो कहते हैं कि नहीं भाई हमारी लड़की बड़ी हो गई, अब लोग हम नहीं पढ़ना के लिए भेजेंगे।
रफत वही तो नहीं सब है ना, जो वैसे हैं उनको मत टच कीजिए। लाखों करोड़ों आपको मिलेंगे जो बेचारे बैठे हुए हैं, आप उन्हीं रिलीजियस वाला फैक्टर को ला रहे। सारे ऐसे नहीं है। आप जाइए शहरों में बहुत होंगे जो पढ़ने को तैयार है लेकिन उनके पास पैसा नहीं।
सर मे आई ऐड समथिंग। देखिए सिर्फ अनपढ़ लोग नहीं, पढ़े लिखों का भी माइंडसेट चेंज करने की जरूरत है। मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। जो पिछले हफ्ते इसी डायस्पोरा का एक प्रोग्राम हो रहा था
जी,
और उस दिन प्रोफेसर साहब अपनी तकरीर कर रहे थे। उन्होंने एक बात कही फिल्म अमर अकबर एंथनी के बारे में, कि उसमें मुसलमान को दिखाया गया कि ऋषि कपूर ने शेरवानी पहनी थी इसलिए वो मुसलमान है। हुजूर ये शेरवानी सिर्फ मुसलमानों की पहचान क्यों? ये तो हर हिंदुस्तानी की पहचान है ना।
लेकिन हो गई ना, हो गई
नहीं ना सर, फिराक गोरखपुरी तो जीवन भर शेरवानी पहनते थे, किसी ने उनको मुसलमान नहीं कहा।
अब हो गई है, अब हो गई
बिरयानी शेरवानी।
नहीं सर आई एम सॉरी। देखिए अभी जनवरी में मैंने अपने लड़के की शादी की एंड आई लेड द बारात विद शेरवानी ऑन।
हाँ वो तो सही बात है, बारात में
तो
सब शेरवानी पहनते हैं।
नहीं ना, तो बारात में हिंदू नहीं पहनते सर, धोती कुर्ता पहनते हैं।
नहीं भाई, शेरवानी हमने बहुत देखा हिंदुओं।
अरे नीरज साहब ये तो फ्रेंच चीजें हैं, कोर इशू तो कुछ और ही है। ये तो सब
नहीं सर, ये माइंडसेट की बात जो आप कर रहे हैं, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट।
वो भी सही है, वो भी सही है।
ये पढ़े लिखे लोगों में भी माइंडसेट वही हो गया है।
ओके, द लास्ट चांस फॉर फजल भाई एंड देन आई विल टर्न ऑफ।
फजल भाई खामोश क्यों हो गए, क्या बात है?
अरे
ओवरवेल्म हो गए क्या?
नहीं ओवरवेल्म नहीं, हम लोग असल में डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन में चले जा रहे हैं।
बहुत सी चीजें डिस्कस हो रही है, वो शायद खाना लंच करने चले गए होंगे।
असल में इंडिया में कोई ऐसा नहीं है हिंदू मुसलमान जो अपने बच्चे को अच्छी तालीम नहीं देना चाहता है, चाहे जराए ना हो।
सही बात।
जो आप देखेंगे गांव गांव में, और
जी जी
तो ये उसकी कमी नहीं है जैसा रजी कह रहे हैं। आई थिंक ही इज राइट। one of the reluctance also comes from in some corner that job opportunities. So when they spend so much money and there is no job, so वो लड़का लड़की जो है वो धोबी के कुत्ते का हालत होती है, न घर का न घाट का। वो घर का भी काम नहीं कर सकता, तालीम कर लिया है, पतलून पहनने लगा है और नौकरी मिल नहीं रही है। तो एक ये तमाम चीजें जो है इंडिया में रोल प्ले करती हैं। कमिंग बैक टू द फंड, एक्चुअली किसी एक को फकीर बन के निकलना पड़ेगा, अपना नुकसान फायदा नहीं, किसी का नुकसान फायदा नहीं, जा करके कटोरा लेके मांगे तभी होगा। क्योंकि बराबर हर आदमी लीडर बनना चाहता है। एक आदमी शुरू करे तो ये होगा किसने शुरू किया, वो वाशिंगटन का है कि बॉस्टन का है, तमाम चीजें हैं। बहरहाल एक वक्त आएगा कि ये चीजें होंगी इंशाल्लाह।
फजल, उससे पहले जो है ना, पैसा आप मांग किस लिए रहे हैं, दैट हैज टू बी क्लियर। पैसा हम मांग रहे हैं, काहे के लिए मांग रहे हैं? तो देयर हैज टू बी कोई पर्पस होगा ना, तभी लोग पैसे देंगे। अब इशरत भाई को याद होगा 2008 में, इशरत भाई यू सेकेंडेड, आई मेड ए प्रपोजल वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी में कि ये दे स्टार्ट है इंडाउमेंट फंड, और यहाँ से जो इंडाउमेंट फंड है, तो यूनिवर्सिटी का क्या था कि उसमें वाइस चांसलर भी शामिल होगा। हमने कहा ये अब मंजूर नहीं, इट हैज़ टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट। और उस पे हमारे पी के अजीज साहब साल भर तक कमेटी बनाते रहे। ईच टाइम ही इंट्रोड्यूस 2 more स्टाफ फ्रॉम द अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी के लॉ प्रोफेसर, वो साल भर तक उसके बायलॉज ही नहीं लिखे गए। तो दैट एफर्ट वाज गॉन।
Can I come in with your permission? We talked a lot about what we haven't done, but there are some glowing examples of what has been done. Mehboob al-Haq was a student at Aligarh. He did his MCA, Computer Applications, set up in Meghalaya with 2 computers and 3 students. And today he has a very impressive university called University of Science, Technology and Management. It is a remarkable achievement. And
I was there, I've seen that campus.
Yeah. The other one I would like to quote is Abdul Qadir Saab, who's an engineer who started from scratch and has built up this whole ecosystem called Shaheen Group, which has done remarkably well. And that's another example that can be emulated. Maulana Vastanvi started under a chappar in Akkalkuan, and today it's a huge institution over there in Akkalkuan, very remarkable. Rahmani 30 are making tremendous gains and getting successes in training for NEET and for JEE. And they have had remarkable success, and I've been very closely associated with them. Then this young boy, Wali Rahmani, who's barely 27 or 28 years old, has set up a school in Calcutta, in West Bengal, and on an appeal on YouTube, in 10 days he collected 10 crores. And that is because people had that kind of confidence in him to be able to make the contribution. So some of these very remarkable developments have happened, and I'm quite sure that more can if we put our minds together. But then, as everybody agrees that the 2 critical imperatives, education and livelihood generation, and I think we should have concrete plans to promote both.
देखिए, ये उमेर साहब ने जो कहा बड़ी अच्छी बात कही।
मैं उमेर नहीं हूँ, हसन गयास हूँ। उमेर मेरे ग्रैंडसन है, मेरा आईपैड हाईजैक कर चुके हैं।
जी, अच्छा। मैं ये अर्ज करना चाहता हूँ, ये इतना मुश्किल काम भी नहीं है, जैसे शायर ने कहा है, बस के दुश्वार है।
शायर को छोड़ दीजिए, क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत शेर व शायरी कर चुके हैं। Let's talk of concrete, very specific issues.
जी, that's what.
जहाँ शायर आए वहाँ मामला गायब हो जाता है।
जी, देखिए, the thing is, here are some ways to get started. One can set up a charitable organization wherever one is from, whether it's Muradabad, wherever it is. That's the way we did it. Once you have a charitable organization, then you go to the local primary schools and look at the children, those who are doing well, and offer some incentive, some scholarship or whatever it is, even 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, whatever. incentive. Pick up some 5 children, 10 children. Then if one is able to, you can pick up a small school in the local area and usko apna bana lijiyega. You support it.
Have you done
Then
that? Have you done that, Nazi Saab?
Yes, yes.
इन्होंने बहुत किया भाई रियाज साहब,
भाई ये बात तो बहुत
कर्नाटका में इन्होंने बहुत किया है, बहुत बड़े-
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
I have supported, not to exaggerate, I've supported not less than 100,000 children.
MashaAllah, you are an inspiration.
And,
Okay,
and I've spent more than.
with that great note, that 100,000 kids were supported. That
अरे एक शेर से खत्म करें यार राफत।
हाँ,
तो हमको मालूम है कि यहीं तक रह जाएगा डिस्कशन, ये सिर्फ किताबों में और आईपैड पे, इसके बाद तो कुछ होना नहीं है। लेकिन
ऐसा ना कहे भाई।
with that
यार आप अजीब आदमी है। Why you are closing it with such a depressing note?
disheartened note,
This will take off from here.
because that's the most
रजी
most
जो
of
है
time
आप
Aligs end
I
up
have
like
lived
that.
long enough
हाँ,
and I have
भाई
seen so much.
हमारे चेयरमैन साहब चले गए, हम तो उन्हीं के खौफ से बैठे हुए थे,
देखिए,
अब हम भी जा रहे हैं।
हर
Okay,
कोई जाने को तैयार है।
खुदा
जी,
हाफिज।
अच्छी बात
खुदा
है।
हाफिज।
थैंक यू।
इसीलिए तो नहीं बन पाता फंड, इसीलिए नहीं बन पाता कोई प्रोजेक्ट कि
बनेगा फंड रजी, बनेगा इंशाल्लाह।
में यही इशू आता है कि कौन शुरू करे, कहाँ से शुरू करे, किस लिए शुरू करे, और इसमें लग गया 75 साल, तो होता रहेगा इंशाल्लाह। हम भी उसी नोट पे सबको बाय बाय कर दें। चलिए, बहुत हो गया है, राइट। थैंक यू वेरी मच। सेशन बहुत अच्छा था अब्दुल्ला भाई।
अच्छा या बुरा था यार, वो असल में इधर उधर भाग जाता है सेशन। We did not, हमने इसीलिए कम बोले थे कि वो डिस्कशन में ज्यादा चीजें ऊपर आती ना, तो एनीवे दैट वाज गुड। चलिए,
ये कौन साहब है? उमैर आजमी जर्नलिस्ट। उमैर आजमी जर्नलिस्ट साहब, भाई जरा अपनी आवाज सुनाएं या शक्ल दिखाएं।
उमैर साहब वही इधर से जो इंडिया से ज्वाइन किया उन्होंने,
आजमगढ़ से।
पता नहीं कहा, मैंने उनको भेज दिया था ये।
ओहो, अच्छा आपका। चलिए ठीक है, इंशाल्लाह।
अच्छी बात। खुदा
हाफिज। थैंक यू वेरी मच। फिर मिलेंगे अगले वाले में। जरूर आइए आप लोग तलमीज साहब को सुनने और